Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for staying with us till this hour. We're going to unpack what these fintech CEOs are betting on in future. So to begin with, let's do a recap and update on the latest iteration of your products and services. Let's start with Kit, since you are closest to me. You provide enterprise solution for the crypto industry using blockchain technology. So what is the latest in your company?
Yeah, look, I think what's interesting is crypto asset is the first asset class tested on the blockchain, digital assets. And I think it's pretty clear with the audience today that digital asset blockchain is here to stay. And the question is, how do you bridge the traditional financial system as they go tokenized or as they move on chain? And what Luca does is we provide that orchestration between system, data, and blockchains, and really providing the data infrastructure to interconnect. So if you think about a firm that wants to trade digital asset, for example, and they trade on 400 or 500 exchanges, something as simple as Bitcoin. Bitcoin's got 30 plus tickers. How do you map and normalize that vast data set across these on and off chain activities? That's what Luca does.
Okay. So what is the latest development in your business right now?
Our latest development is definitely leveraging AI.
Okay.
Our view is there's only two types of company in the future: those that are out of business, and those that are using AI to get everyone out of business.
Okay. Let's get back to that point later on. Tariq, welcome. You are a trading platform, multiple assets. What is the latest in your business?
Well, thank you. For us, we have seen 2025 a massive boom in trading participation in the UAE and the MENA markets overall. Over 1.5 trillion was traded in the first half of this year, out of which 800 billion in this market and 72% from the UAE. So we see, all-time highs in gold and Bitcoin and a number of different asset classes, and the market really wanting participation in exposure to all these different crypto and commodity classes from here.
Right. Amberine, welcome. You are a subscription-based digital banking app via the mobile. You offer all kinds of bank accounts, debit cards, credit cards. What's the latest in your business?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I will start potentially with a global company before coming and zooming into the UAE. So as a global company, Revolut just hit the 65 million customer base. We're a one app, or if you want the super app for you, or you're managing your money, so your personal finances. We have just recently announced a fundraise at a $75 billion valuation. Now, if I zoom in globally into the UAE market, as you would have heard, a couple of months ago, we received our in-principle approval from the central bank for an SVF and an RSP license. What that means is the two licenses that allows us to do multi-currency cards, allows us to do payments. And this, we're now still working with the central bank very closely to eventually get our full license to be able to launch in the UAE in the near future.
All right, thank you. So to help us arrive at this, to get a glimpse of what you guys are all betting on, let's take a look at the competitive landscape that you all operate in. Who are your biggest competitors? What are they doing? And what are you watching out for? Let's start with Amberine.
I like that question. I get asked the same question every single time. I met Jay just outside,
Yeah.
CEO of Buyo, and he goes, everywhere I go, they keep asking me about you. Ask him and ask me.
Okay.
No, look, I look at competition in a very different way, right? I think if you look at the market, we're expecting another 9 million people coming into the UAE. So if you think about competition, there is less of other one will take each other's pie, but the share of the pie is actually increasing as a whole. So I think that's fantastic news as the economy grows here. The second part of competition is we look at what we watch out, or personally I watch out for, are companies, whether it's a traditional bank, whether it's a payments company, whether it's a digital bank. It doesn't make that much of a difference. To me, is who is the one who can really keep up with consumer behavior changes? Who is the one who can really adapt to disruptive consumer behavior? And to me, that's the biggest disruptor of the ecosystem. I mean, the technology is, but consumer behavior and the change in that behavior is not happening or changing every decade anymore. That's changing on a yearly basis, on a 6 month basis. Can you adapt? Who is the one? And when we talk about Revolut, I mean, how we compete, I think for the Middle East anyway, is we bring in a global breadth of services. So we allow customers to really, we really target global customers as a whole. And we compete on seamless customer experience.
So you're laser focused on the customers and the user behavior. What about you, Tariq? Are you equally focused on customers?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this market for 10 years here in the UAE, and you can really see how we have progressed and the demand to any kind of app, whether it's a banking app, a crypto exchange, or a trading app, has gone through the roof. And if you don't keep up with that demand, you have no chance in surviving. When I came, a lot of people here used to look at the European markets, the UK, the US, as kind of best in class. But now everyone is here. Everyone is on the ground. Everyone is competing for the same kind of customer. So you better be ready to compete. And things that are really important here is, easy to use kind of award-winning apps is the absolute minimum. And if you don't invest into making things simple and very easy to use, you have no chance in survival here.
Right. Kit, your business case is a little bit different, right? You're providing enterprise solution to enterprise businesses, right? Those customers behave differently. How are you addressing them?
The good news is there's more and more institutions participating in crypto and digital assets. So, our TAM is growing and the customer we service is growing. So from our perspective, it's not about focusing on the competitor. Definitely be aware of what the competitors are doing, but understand how your client's business and workflow is changing. And really, to the point, is to focus on the customer and build the right solutions as their business evolves, which is key.
What about the regulatory framework? Let's move on to the regulatory framework. You all are disruptors in a way in your respective fields. How are you getting ahead or keeping abreast of the different regulatory frameworks? Let's start with you. What are the rules that you currently navigate? What are the latest situations? Is there a particular stumbling block that you need to get across?
Well, so we're a solution provider, so we're not regulated. But the good news is I see regulation of a convergence and more clarity. And so one example is COF, right? A lot of our clients need a solution around meeting the COF requirement. So these things actually open up more opportunities for us as regulatory clarity is becoming a thing for everybody.
Right. You also operate globally. Can I just quickly follow up and ask whether, globally speaking, rules are becoming easier for the crypto industry to operate?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tariq, what about in your field? What are the regulations that you have to overcome? Are there particular stumbling blocks that are preventing you from expanding globally or regionally?
I mean, I'll start with the UAE, and what we have experienced here in our licensing process was nothing short but amazing. We speak to regulators all across the world. This is probably one of the only countries where the regulator is very business focused, and whether it's ADGM, DIFC, ESCA, VARA, everyone wants companies to come into the country and set up a shop here, and makes it very easy. So for us, it's not so much a struggle. It is much more a dialogue between regulator and us, trying to enable business here.
And Marie?
Sure. I think regulators here, well, in the region anyway, are basically taking the vision, and it's very well aligned with the vision 2030 and of each country for that matter. And I don't think it's just a UAE thing, but what we've seen in the last 12 to 24 months is a major push towards opening, and it's a major push towards FDIs, a major push towards sophistication, towards digital assets. And I think that's a phenomenal step forward into the right direction. There's a lot more to do. There's a lot more to come. But we have to also remember that regulators' job is to really protect the ecosystem and make sure that nobody ends up on their faces, right? So I think we're all learning at the same time. For that matter, I look after the GCC, so we are talking to regulators all around consistently, and I believe the next couple of years will be very, very interesting and very exciting opportunities opening up in the region.
Sounds good. What I'm hearing is that it's all very positive. The regulators, the environment the market is very conducive to doing business. And the regulations are easing. It's fantastic. What are the risks? What are the downsides? What are the unknowns that you deal with that possibly keep you up at night?
Yeah, look, I think there's two perspectives. There's digital asset and blockchain as a technology for adoption, and then there's crypto assets, right? And I think when there's volatility, it does cause angst for a lot of market participants. So that I would say is one area that keeps me up at night. And then the second component is you see how fast AI is evolving, and I do think you can now have two-person in a garage building a competitive product quite fast, and so you got to keep your eye on the ball and be fast and nimble from that perspective.
Okay.
For me, it's not regulation that's keeping me up at night. It's much more business-oriented goals. There's a lot of competition, and staying ahead of the curve and investing in continuous innovation and using AI, for example, as one of the tools to really separate you from other people, and being able to implement this quickly enough to keep ahead and in the eyes of the consumer relevant as a player is very, very important. There's a lot of engineers and companies here investing a lot into this because the bar just keeps getting higher and higher.
Are there downside risks in your business?
So the first point is obviously the speed of change and making sure that whatever you're doing, you don't miss the boat. And I've seen a lot of companies missing the boat, no matter how big they are. So I don't think you're ever too big to fail. I think that's one area. But two, for me, it doesn't keep it at night. But if you ask me challenges, though, of setting up businesses here, is talent. I think talent is a major, major issue that we're still facing, specifically in technologies that are growing so fast that we don't even have time to even breed the talent through. So we have to get people from abroad. But even that, it's not as easy as just walk in the door. I think talent is one of the major issues or concerns that we have. We're trying to build that on it, but it's not easy to find the right talent in the right industry. That's probably the two things that.
Right. Now, if we look back the last year, you remember that in April, after a certain individual in the White House unveiled his April Fool's Day joke, otherwise known as Liberation Day, the global financial markets took a bit of a tumble, as well as crypto prices. So I want to ask you whether in your business you are subject to geopolitical risks or shocks as a result of geopolitics. Do you see that? Is that something that you think about or are worried about?
Look, I think every business is exposed to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Right. I think when uncertainty comes, we provide solutions to institutions, right? So everyone's wallet starts to tighten when there's a lot more uncertainty from that perspective.
Trading?
I mean, in trading, any kind of shock to a market, whether it's political or otherwise, moves the markets, and there's a lot of expectation on the platforms to perform in those markets. So we see a lot of volatility during those times and a lot of interest in our product throughout the year. But in that time that you described, there was definitely a heightened interest in getting exposure.
Is there any way of protecting your business from these kinds of shocks?
I mean, there are shocks that we all live with every single day, right? So,
right.
Look, the reality is any business, there's optimizing signal versus noise.
Yes.
Right? There'll always be noise and things will happen all the time. But what I love about running a business, and love to hear your thoughts, is that creativity that you can bring to the table every day. It's how fast you can change and evolve. And I think with technology advancement, it's enabling us to do so, right? So that's why I think this is the most exciting time to run a business.
Right. Can you elaborate on that, separating the noise from the signals?
Yeah, look, you see a lot of, whether it's market volatility, whether it's things that change on a daily basis. And as a CEO of a company, you need to understand where that North Star is, right? And really getting clarity on what's real and what's not. Look, what's real is digital asset blockchain. It is real, it's here to stay. And you're gonna see a lot more traditional assets moving into this rail. We're seeing it. Tokenized funds, tokenized money market, etc. That's real, right? Volatility, it'll always happen. The market will tank. Give me a day, it may happen, right? These things are forever reality. So don't let that distract you running a business.
Right. Okay. Earlier on, Kit mentioned the role of AI in his business. How are you using AI in your businesses?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, AI is something that everyone has to implement, and I think we're starting by looking inside our company first, what processes can be improved and optimized, and then go out towards customer-facing kind of products, and with the first few now being rolled out, which is very exciting. You know, once you have scale as a company, AI really helps you in tackling that scale where whether it's data or customers, you can do a lot of fun things with it.
Do you do recommendations using AI?
We're an execution-only platform, so we don't give any kind of recommendations, but we know that the end customer is certainly playing around with AI to help them make better decisions.
And Marine, are you using it apart from efficiency and productivity?
Yeah, I mean, customer service and customer experience is a great place to start. I think, as Tarek just said, using AI to give recommendations depending on the licenses you have. Some companies can, but some companies can't, and you kind of want to be careful what kind of recommendations it's giving out as well. I think we're still quite early days. But from a customer service experience, we've seen some major uptake in terms of the quality of responses, in terms of how many issues and how many concerns get escalated. We've seen some really, really great results. Now, if you go a couple of steps forward, and that's not for Revolut particularly, but if you look at banks out there who are actually using AI, a lot of them are starting to use AI in their risk management. The issue there is regulation, right? So you can start using AI in how you actually build your risk system, but there are no regulations around because when you use AI in your risk credit analysis, it's changing all the time, right? So the type of customers who's risky, who's not risky, depending on the amount of data. And as you reach scale, this data can be extremely powerful to be used to actually then build out your credit or your risk criteria. Having said that, I don't think the regulations are there yet, and they're still building out to allow that to happen for banks.
Okay, so we've been asked to sort of ask you what you are betting on, right, for in the near future. So, what in a couple of words, what are you betting on in 2026?
The acceleration of tokenized assets.
Elaborate.
That's a big bet for us. It's really about, with any new technology, you start with divergence. This is better than everything else doesn't make sense. Over time, it becomes convergence. I do think we think about traditional capital markets, we think about global derivative. That's a $715 trillion asset class. Global fixed income, $140 trillion asset class. The infrastructure that's been built in these markets, it's been there for decades. So you can't just unwind, lift and shift and go digital, right? You need a bridge. And that's really where Luca comes in, is providing that digital bridge and orchestration across systems, data, and blockchain. And that's a big bet for us in 2026.
Tarek, what are you betting on?
I mean, for us, we're a trading platform. When I started in trading, we were going from phone dealing to then having an app. And now the next frontier, what will be next on how people will want to get exposure to the markets, right? So you have AI as a boom, and we're all used to using ChatGPT and different LLMs. I think it will have a major impact on how people will interact with leading financial institutions in the future to make their decisions and make better financial decisions going forward. So we are very excited to be at the forefront of this, and that's where we're doubling down on.
So you're betting on technology to enhance the user experience, making it easier and better for your customers to trade?
Sure, yes.
Right. And Marine, what are you betting on next year?
So what's super interesting with Revolut is we have a whole section called New Bets. And we try out a whole lot of things, and some will fail, but some succeed. And I absolutely love this area, especially when we get together and the brainstorm happens. But aside that, that's on a global level. Aside that, on a personal level, and being the GCC CEO, I'm betting on the region to actually welcome us and to really grow. I think the Middle East, hopefully anyway, will be a big growth lever for Revolut. A second point to me is we've talked a lot about tokenization and consumer behavior change. I think one area that we haven't really kind of dug into, which I believe as well is one of the basics or inputs into changing customer behavior in financial services, is customer education. So education sounds fluffy, but I think with education, the whole ecosystem grows, but also you start getting really sophisticated customers from a tokenization perspective, from Bitcoin, crypto, and trading online. I don't think anybody has cracked education yet. But to me, any company who manages to grab that piece where you build so much trust because you're educating the customer, whether you want to use AI, whether you want it on a personal level, but building that trust. So my background is financial education, right? So if you build that trust through education, I think you can get a very long way with a very loyal customer base.
So increase stickiness with the customers. Now, is that education done through a slick marketing campaign, or is it going to be done through a app that is trustworthy or easy to use?
I think there are different ways you can do this, but to me, education is carrying it over the life cycle of the customer, right? From the beginning, from the age of even a younger 16, 17, we've got a product called the Youth, which is under 18. I think it starts really early. I think education doesn't start at the age of 40, it starts at the age of 15, 14, 15, because there are patterns of financial behavior that comes all the way from childhood, right?
So
there is a
financial
concept
literacy.
called money trauma, which is how you were dealt with in money between the age of 0 and 10 or 12, is how you see money when you grow up. There are people who, being rich, they're ashamed of it because it's not the right thing to do. There are other people, money is a sign of status. It all comes from a very young age, that behavior. And I think once you hit that behavior and you educate customers in terms of the future and what the behavior should be like, then you can create that stickiness. How you do it, it can be done through AI, it can be done through an app. That's something that needs to be worked on.
Thank you. Now, in the remaining time that we have, I'd like to ask you, if you were to restart your startups, right, start from the beginning and do things all over again tomorrow, how would you do things differently? I'm going to start with you, Tarek, because you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, I think the opportunity that now everyone has in financial services and people that have access to millions of customers and a lot of data is to use that data for good and to bring it to the forefront in front of the customer's eyes and help them make better decisions. So if I were to start again and I had this similar kind of scale that we have now, I would certainly try and accelerate that process and getting the right kind of data at the right time in front of the customers.
All right, fantastic. Okay, thank you very much for your insights into this. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking our panel of speakers.